Welcome back to Next Level Rides. In today's episode, we're going to be working on my buddy's F90 M5 competition. So we have a couple of goodies to install for him. So we've got some Wagner coolers and some Project Gamma filters. So stay tuned and we're going to get started. So these are what we're working with. Wagner tuning. It's really nice quality. It's all nice powder coated. Shows genuine product. Seems to be pretty good. So I really don't think there's going to be any fitment issues, but of course time will tell. Now the only thing that I have a slight concern with is in this weld here, I don't know if it shows, there's these little pinholes, which are not what you want to see. Now whether those are pinholes or something from how it was manufactured, I'm not sure, but being that it's a Wagner product, I really don't think there's going to be any issue. Fit and finish on these is great. They look great. I'm sure they're going to perform great. They have this nice little plaque here, so that's super cool. That's what you get for top dollar product. So I'm gonna go take a peek now and see how much of a pain in the butt it's gonna be. You'd think I learned not to play around with these V8 twin turbos. N63 was awful. S63, love the car, love the motor for the power it makes, but man, I don't want to deal with it if it breaks. Let's see. All right, so we got a T-map. What have we got here? Mount. So we're gonna have to move these up and over. Now coolant's probably gonna spill out. What else do we have? So we have this T-bone here that's also probably gonna spill coolant. So I'll have to disconnect this off here because these like to break. Disconnect it here. This I'm gonna try and move out of the way. Oh, there's already an oil leak on a new car. Nice. Okay, so I'll move this out of the way, this out of the way. Maybe I can fit my hands in there. Start by taking this off. That's it, hey? All right, so now you can see your glorious engine. Cute little turbos. All right, so next, I think I'm gonna start with taking all this off because I need to take this brace off. Don't really think it's gonna be giving me any extra room though. No, because there's the rad fan right there. Oh, the rad fan is right there. So this isn't gonna do me any good to take that off. Oh, you know what? I gotta take these off to take these off. Take this off to take that off. All right, let's start with this.
First, we're gonna start by removing the side plastic pieces. From there, we're gonna remove the two strut bars with the intake in between.
All right, so the nice thing with these intakes is that it's silicone, so it should be able to pull off. So I can do one of these. Okay, look at all that dirt and dust. Whoever installed these should really have cleaned that off, but they decided not to. Like, it's the attention to detail. Just wipe it. Like, it's not rocket science.
So first we're going to start taping off the turbo inlets just so we don't have anything fall inside of it that could end up getting eaten up by the turbo. Afterwards, we're going to move to the PCV hoses. Now, just be a little bit careful with these since they're very brittle and like to break. Next, we're going to remove the hose clamps that are holding the tube in between both intercoolers together.
Yeah, so these are a bit of a pain. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll score them right in the middle, but other times you can put a flat head and just turn it 90 degrees. So I'll try and do that. Let's go a little bit careful with it because the port on the intercooler. So this should pop off. Yep, there we go. There's the one. So what it does is it has these teeth. So when you crimp it, it pulls against these teeth. There's one. Just wiggle it. Not enough to crack the plastic, but enough to lift it up. Once you get under here, there we go. Two. So this looks like to even out each bank for your pressure. Now I'm a bit worried to take these out. I don't know if lots of coolant's coming out, a little bit of coolant, no coolant. I'm not sure. So next is going to be this oil thing. E-Torx and a regular Torx. And while I'm in here, I'll see what's leaking. It might just be this that's leaking a little bit. Not the end of the world.
Once we remove the oil fill tube, we're going to tape off the port just so nothing can fall inside the timing cover. Next, we're going to be removing the connectors for the T-maps. Just be careful with these as the tabs like to break off, so be a little bit careful, go a little slow. Next, we're going to start by loosening the hose clamps that hold the coupler that holds the intercooler to the turbos. Afterwards, we're going to go to the little brace that's holding the two intercoolers together and the T30 that's holding the AC lines to the cylinder block. Then we're going to move on to the tube that connects the two intercoolers together. I think it might be a bit of an equalization pipe for boost pressure, but after that's out, we're going to tape the ports again so nothing falls inside. Last but not least, we're going to start with the T30s that are hidden underneath the intercoolers. Now these are a little bit tricky and they hold each intercooler to the actual block, I believe, so that they don't wiggle in place. Be a little careful with these. It's going to be a T30. They're going to be long enough bolts, and when I use the magnet, I put it on the threaded portion just so I wouldn't drop it into the engine bay. And then afterwards we go back up to loosen the other two remaining hose clamps.
Alright, now I think it's the moment I have been dreading, is coolant mess. I think that's a bit too big. Alright, get creative. A little bit of water left in there. So I think I pop it out of here. And if I put this here, maybe. So these ones are the quick disconnect. So right at the bottom here, you can see how it pulls out. And then, not too bad. Just barely anything. But you can see the intercooler is full. So when I go to do the bottom, it's gonna be bad. So open the reservoir just so it doesn't end up siphoning all the coolant out. Now it's leaking. You f***er for both of you. If I could get my hand in there, what I'd like to do is I'd like to squeeze the coolant hose. See if I can get it to burp enough coolant where there'll be less when we pull it out. So a little bit of spillage is kind of whatever. Like I'll flush it with just water. All right, now for the next side. Right up top on this one. So this one might have less coolant because we already leaked it all out there, but we'll see. Get my ghetto bouquet. Nada. Nothing on this side. All right. Oh, okay. I move that side, this side leaks. All right. Again, the coolant's not a big deal. We'll flush it down. Be very careful with these. BMW's Infinite Wisdom, they use tons and tons of plastic. So let's tuck this up and over there so it can't leak. No tension on it. This one we're gonna pull to the side as well. So these have little rubber nibs on them. So what I'm actually doing is I'm just gonna hook these like this, just right into the grill. So because it's rubber, it's actually not gonna make a mark. That pulls it out of the way. All right, so that's out of the way. Can I get this out of the way? Nope. Let's flush a little bit of this coolant. Coolant tends to be pretty slick, so I don't want it anywhere, except for on my floor apparently.
Now we're going to tackle the hose clamps that hold the intercoolers to each throttle body. These were a little bit tricky, so hopefully you have a bunch of extensions to make something work. For myself, I ended up using this flexible extension that I've had for quite some time now, and it made easy work of it. So when we moved back up to the couplers, they were still stuck and being a pain in my backside. So just wiggle it a bit, try with a flathead. If not, what I had to do here in particular was use the pick tool to slide it between the actual piping itself and the coupler. So once you get that done, you have to run it around the entire circumference of the coupler itself to break the seal. Again, I think BMW ended up using some sort of glue on this, but eventually once it's broken, then you're able to actually pull it free. Not before you end up loosening the hose clamps that ended up having a bunch of teeth on it. It was really weird and maybe something that BMW used, but we have new proper silicone hose clamps to actually replace these. I had to go back to these couplers that hold the intercooler to the throttle body, again to break the seal. Afterwards, we get to the fun part. We try to fit my big meat hook right into the middle of the engine bay to loosen the original and the larger coolant pipe that's connected to the bottom inside of the intercooler. Once both of those are disconnected, the coolant's going to end up pouring out all over the place, so just be sure you have a pitcher of water to flush the belt and anything that the coolant had touched. After the two coolant pipes, we're going to move on to the evap stuff that's tucked away on brackets on either side of the cooler. So there's a connector on each side, and then you have the bracket itself with the purge valves and solenoids and all this witchcraft. So push it all out of the way, and then you'll be able to pull the intercooler straight up and out. And as you guessed it, you're going to get some blue shop rags or shop towels and put them on the throttle body ports, again, so nothing falls inside. So just rinse and repeat on the other side and it'll actually be pretty straightforward. Again, make sure you have that pitcher of water, because as soon as the coolers are out of the way, you're going to see the coolant that you had missed initially. So again, just pour water throughout and flush it all out of the way, especially on the belt and the pulleys.
All right, so because I dropped a bunch of water in here to flush it out, I'm just gonna blow it all dry. All right, so all fun aside, this is why I absolutely hate these inlets. You can see where I wiped, it's nice and purple there, but look at all the shit that's in there. Your engine is eating that. So that can sit there. Like, you see all the dirt and stuff that's on the outside here? Look at all the dirt and stuff that's on the inside there. Never, never, never use these inlets. To give you an idea, yeah, look, it's cool that the inlet's right in the front. Look how dirty that gets. And then your motor eats it. Like even through here, you can see where the overall diameter's collapsed. Never run those. All right, now that we got the intercoolers out, what we need to do is we need to transfer over a couple of the sensors. So we're gonna have one sensor here. So we'll take it out and we'll replace it into this portion here. And I believe on the other side, so there's gonna be a little bracket so that we can replace this onto here for the evap portion. All right, so this one's gonna be a T35. So just wiggle it, be very gentle with this one, and eventually it'll pop. All right. All right. The Vaseline. There you go. Now there's a good chance that these are different screws, so all right, so I'm guessing it's probably going to be these. So these are nice Allen head bolts. Okay, so the back side, you're going to use one of these and bottom it out. So this is going to be the mount, and it's going to replace the factory one. And on this side, all right, so a little bit of a pain. You're going to want to put a flathead underneath and pry this tab up. And it pops off. And I can see how there's a reset with a notch. So I'm going to put this one on the ground so it stops leaking everywhere. So it's going to be one of these. Now, all I need to do is try to confirm which way it mounts. Okay, so on this one, the tab is underneath this hoop, so this is going to be upside down. So this will be smaller ones. All right. So now this should clip in. Yeah, look at that. That's nice. Okay, so I'll leave it on there for now, and if I run into any issues with mounting it, I'll go from there. But that is one done. Okay, so you don't actually use this one. These are 2 additional ports if you wanted to run methanol or additional sensors. So these, because most of the time they're actually loose, I'm going to put thread sealant on them. What the hell? Okay, they're actually super tight. It's a 4.5 and nobody has a 4.5 socket. Yeah, they're super tight. Actually, it looks like they're glued in and drilled out. Okay, we're going to leave those alone. Same thing, mount. Flip it over. There we go. So we don't want anything else to go in there, so let's just cap that side off. Okay, so these brackets, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. How do you even get those out? Like this? It looks like a 12 mil. Now, since we're taking a bolt out right over your throttle body, this is a perfect example of why you want to put something in there so that bolts and stuff doesn't fall in. Yeah, so I want to pull this out without dropping the bolt. So this bolt, so this kind of locates on the block here, it looks like, for the intercooler. So what we're going to need to do is this will be replaced by, looks like this. Yep, looks like that's it. Now, this is a little bit strange because they supply you with what I consider to be a pretty short bolt. I guess it's okay, it gets about 3 threads. Now, the only thing I don't like about this is you can bottom it out, but the mount, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, the mount actually spins left to right. So I think I'm going to have to leave it a little bit loose get the intercooler sitting on there, and then figure it out from there.
So the second intercooler bracket was a little bit of a pain. It ended up sitting right against the Vano solenoid where I thought it would need to be. So these ended up needing to be parallel to the throttle body. So as long as you snug them down there, once the coolers go on, you'll know if it needs any sort of small adjustment. So I started by test fitting the coupler on the driver's side throttle body. Now I found that it was roughly 1/8 of an inch too big. So after I wiped it all down and ensured that it was clean, I started by installing the coupler and then the hose clamp. Now when you're snugging down this hose clamp, you want to make sure that the clamp itself is just in behind the ridge, so that when it's snugged down, it doesn't have any movement or any ability to slip off the throttle body. Now as I lower the intercooler back into its place, or I guess into its new home, just make sure that you remember, and unlike I did, the hose clamp needs to go on first. Fortunately, I was able to sneak it up and around the pipe, but once it's down and in there, you'll just end up snugging down the hose clamp just like you did on the opposite side, but just make sure that it ends up sitting flush with the bottom of the intercooler itself. So once the cooler is sitting where it needs to be, it's going to be a repeat of exactly what you ended up doing to take them out, just in backwards form. So start by connecting all the coolant hoses and ports, and then underneath the large coolant hose, and along with all the evap stuff. So the bracket itself will sit on the cooler, and then you'll end up having protrusions where the factory evap solenoids and lines would end up just clicking in. You also want to ensure that when you're routing these connectors and these harnesses back into place, you want to ensure that as soon as you go to start connecting everything back, that everything is far and away from the serpentine belt. It's very, very close in there, so you just want to be double sure that nothing's going to rub or cause an issue down the road.
So while I can, I'm going to try and sneak this in there too. Just need to make sure that it goes on both ways. Nope, it only goes on one way. I'll double check. Yep. Yeah. All right, it's just at the bottom. Give it a little poke. There we go. So the only thing I'm hoping is that I can reach the coolant port to push the coolant hose on. Now, this I can put a hose clamp on after.
Now, as always, we're going to rinse and repeat for the second cooler.
So the one thing that I'm sure we need to be cautious of is this cross brace. So we're going to put the one bolt back in here that probably should have put in a while ago. Okay, well, learn from my misery. Put that one in a long time before you do this. All right, next up, let's get these evap lines. All right, last coolant pipe. Let's get you out of the way. Nice. All right, now we're gonna put oil fill. So for obvious reasons, make sure that nothing is about to fall inside here. And you sneak it under this brass bracket. And with its O-ring, wiggle it in. It's kind of weird that they put a regular Torx and an e-Torx, but whatever. I'm not about to question BMW. So these I'll bottom out by hand, and then don't crank these down, just a little snug, because all you're doing is having it hold in place. That's it. Okay. All right, so we're gonna finish these off up here by hand. These are relatively even. That one felt a bit suspect. Yeah, that's good. All right, what's left to do? I think now we're just gonna double check, triple check, check again. And when you've checked, what do you do? Check again, check again. Okay, bottom coolant hose, that clicked. Now is it time for these project garbage intakes? I think it might be. God, I hate these. So I need to show you the issue I'm running into. So you have these project garbage intakes. Now it mounts right here to the strut tower right here. Now that is supposed to mount right in that hole, but this is being a bit of a pain in the ass. So that's way bigger than necessary. Well, I should say way bigger than factory. So now we have an issue with this coolant line of all things being right where this bar needs to go. What the f am I gonna do? Now let's see if we can rotate this bad boy. Is that maybe gonna work? Is it? I don't know. I don't like it, but I don't have to like it. It just has to work. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Get going over there. All right, it's about tip of the screwdriver. All right, so the top of these strap bars, it's a 10.9 bolt and it's an 18 millimeter head. Now they probably have a torque spec, but like most things, it's just going to be good and tight. All right, time to tidy up. Okay, so I'm just going to do my once over. So I know these four are tight. This is tight, tight. These two are tight. Now, I don't know if it's going to show you in here. This is all the evap stuff. You just want to make sure this evap connector is connected. Right here, there's a tab that will go right onto the aluminum portion. And then right down there is your coolant hose. Oh, not that one, this one. So that one there is your coolant hose that goes into the bottom of the intercooler. So I know that one's tight. Here's all the evap stuff on this side. So this tab here likes to pop out, so just be cautious. This is sitting in there. It's on the tab. Those are tight. Now, these little flange bolts, these are the ones that were a bit of a nuisance. There's that one as well. Now, that one's going to be a bit tricky, so don't do what I did and drop the bolt and spend an hour and a half fishing for it. So, I wish these were a little bit nicer, but whatever. Okay, so that's all good and tight. The bottom of the coolant hose for the intercooler is there. Now the upper one's here, that's tight. That's the coolant one. This one's good. This one's good. Project garbage. I just tightened these. Those are good. These strut bolts are both good. So make sure all the evap is good up top here. Make sure PCV lines are nice and snug. Inlets, they didn't really move. Those are snug. Now what I did is solid. That's not binding or anything here. I'm not exactly happy. It might chafe a little bit, but just on the shielding. Now, this is all good and tight. I know I've taken that off 4 or 5 times now. The coolant hose here, I'm not overly enthusiastic, but they literally put this rubber donut there to wedge it so it doesn't rub. So, whatever. Those look like T-maps. That one is tight and that one is tight as well. Now there's the hose clamps on the bottom of each intercooler. I know those are tight.
Now I'm gonna run it through its bleed procedure and we're done.
Okay, so that's it. It took, if I had to guess, probably 8-9 hours kind of thing. I stopped counting after 7, but you know, I ended up dropping a bolt anyways. So it looks good. I'm sure it's gonna perform really well. Is it going to provide any additional power? I don't think so, but it'll allow you to maintain better intake temperatures and you will notice more power throughout a longer pull if you're on the highway, especially through a few gears. So that's all for today. Feel free to like and subscribe and we'll see you on the next one. How much bullshit do I want to put myself through? Now do yourself a favor, don't drop a single thing in this engine bay. If you drop anything, it's gone. Shh. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh. Now I'm sweating. Good magnet. It smells way better than the grease. Instructions. We're not going to be using these. Why do I smell burning toast? Is that it? Has my time come?